Hi, good morning.
Good morning, guys. So welcome back to the State of the Federation. This is something that Peter Fox started, and it's a way that we are able to get a lot of information into a short session. This is a little bit different though, because we also have the posters outside. And the other thing that we'll do is if something really piques your interest, there'll be collaboration area table tents at lunch. So you can sit with those groups and have just a deeper discussion about what's going on. What's going to tell you? I think the only other thing is to not forget tonight that we have the Full Steam Funding Friday poster making activity. It's not required. If you want to make your poster earlier today, just stop by and see Annie Keys at the registration desk. I think that's it.
All right, good morning, everyone. Well, it's great to see all of you on the third day of the meeting already. It's been really exciting, perhaps exhausting as well. So, what a day yesterday. It was just amazing. I have heard many good things about the plenary and the lighting sessions, and people are just raving about it. And yesterday evening, I hope you had a chance to attend the Research as Art event. That was just wonderful. All these exhibits is just beautiful. And I know it's a winner when people are asking that, they want to have it again. So thank you for all the exhibitors and all your participations on it. So, yep, here we are the third day, and Erin talked about, the program activities today. And welcome to the State of the Federation sessions. And let me just start by sharing with you some good news. I'm really happy to report that the NOAA grant, what's up there? Okay. The NOAA grant, has been renewed successfully, and thank you for the continuing support. And also, this meeting has reached a record-breaking number of in-person registrations, a total of 310, not counting the remote participants. So, yay! So. And now our reputation is gaining both nationally and internationally among our supporters and also collaborators, such as EarthCube, RDA, and Geode. And 2 weeks ago, I attended the EarthCube All Hands meeting, and I was so happy to hear that ESIF was just called out over and over again. So it was just wonderful. Okay, we heard the S3's team's story map lighting talk yesterday, and this is our versions of the story map that we have been working on. Annie Burgess, I don't think she's here, but thank you for taking, she's here, okay, great. Thank you for taking the lead, working with, I don't know if Rebecca Fowler and Christine right over there on this one. So an announcements will come out this summer when it's available on our website. But for a sneak preview, when you get this slide deck, you can just click on the title and it will take you to the map. You will be able to see all the member organizations distributed geographically across the nations, and you can find information about that. And also the map will be evolving over time with new contents as well. Here is the leadership team elected by the Assembly across many different agencies, different sectors, and also science domains. It is really a pleasure for me to work side by side with all these folks to serve this community. Christine over there is our VP, who is instrumental in the development of this year's leadership work plan. And Bill is the chair of the finance committee that completed budget call this year and did a great job in overseeing the budgets. I think Bill is here somewhere. Okay, anyway, Ken is the Constitution and Bylaw Chair, Committee Chair, and I don't believe he's here this time. Danny, hopefully she's here, is the Chair of the Partnership Committee, and did an excellent job in putting together a new member organization welcome package. Justin is the Chair of the Data Stewardship Committee, with Rama here as the Vice Chair. They brought to our attention this year of the Open Government Data Act. Subsequently, ESIP co-signed the letter of support for that particular bill. And Luann is the Chair of the Education Committee that held successful webinars as well as a workshop on Tuesday working on drones. And Ethan is the Chair of the Information Technology and Interoperability Committee with Rich Sick now as the Vice Chair. And Tom, I'm not sure if he's here, is the Chair of the new Semantic Technology Committee. And then Bob, Sky and Ted are the type reps. So these positions are non-paid positions, but each really carry out an important role and responsibility for ESIP. This team put in many hours happily serving this community. So can you just tell by their smiling faces on this picture here? So even though ESIP is strong, we believe that an assessment would really be helpful to reflect and also to check in with the community, our sponsor, and also our external collaborators to get their perspective, excuse me, value propositions, and also potential areas of improvement. The evaluations included phone interviews, online survey, and also a capability diagnostic. The results are more than positive, affirming that ESIP is indeed doing great. And here are a couple of direct quotes from the evaluation that we should be proud of. And in the spirit of openness and transparency, Evan will blog about the evaluation process after this meeting and share the result with all. And also the board and the ESIP leadership team held a 2-day workshop to review the evaluation findings right before this meeting. The key outcomes are, excuse me, to streamline and simplify the governance wherever possible. And we'll focus on documenting the process, preserving our great culture, and identifying and communicating the impact we have made, and also enhancing our website. Okay. So I mentioned how important the students are to us yesterday, and here's a couple of their accomplishments. Sophie Howe, I think in the audience, Funding Spidey project was to generate new ideas for the next phase of the data management course for scientists. She conducted a research by comparing the short course with 9 different training modules created by different types of organizations. And her research outcomes include lessons learned, recommendations on how to improve the effectiveness of the data management training resources, and also suggestions of further research on this topic. She presented her result in different multiple scientific venues, and also continued to advocate this type of research that is of great interest to her. She told me that she had received great support and guidance from the Data Stewardship Committee and the ESIP community as a whole. The research that she did aligns well with the mission of ESIP and making it a great success for her and also for ESIP. Barb, she should be also here, spearheaded the drone cluster with Jane Winhard. Those who participated in the Drone Future Tuesday would know firsthand how exciting the activity really is. And recently, Bart and Jane completed their first flight campaign. They got together for a week in Vermont to test out their drone-mounted greenhouse gas sensors in an agriculture setting. Flying their drones to collect carbon dioxide concentration measurements, and the results are being shared by her posted presentation this week. I'm also very happy and as well very proud of Barb to let you know that because of the work she does, she has received the University of Vermont's Graduate Student Center's Most Innovative Research Award in recognition of her work in connecting the fields of earth science, remote sensing, and complex systems in technologically innovative ways. So congratulations, Barb. This shows all the committees, working group, and also all the clusters. Plenty of awards have been done by this group in an ongoing basis. Their activities are really instrumental to the success in reaching our strategic goals. These groups are really in the driving seats that will take us to where we want to be in 5 years' time. I can't say thank you enough for all the leads and also participants. And thank those who also submitted their highlights to me. They are all included in this set of slides. But however, I must apologize in advance that time simply does not allow me to go through all of them. So you can just take a look at them when they are put online. So kudos to Steve Campbell and also Tiffany Matthews. Together they chair the Earth Science Data and Analytic Cluster. And recently, the ESIP Assembly voted to accept the term and definitions of Earth Science Data and Analytics, and also its associated sets of goals developed by the cluster. It is really well said by Steve that ESIP has put themselves on the map again for such an achievement. The significance in doing so is that we, the ESIP community, can better associate meaningful techniques that are particularly useful to earth science data and analytic users, and in partnership with earth science data users to develop tools and services that support their advancing research. Also, a shout out to Dave Jones and Karen Moe, who co-chair the Disaster Lifecycle Cluster. The cluster's geo-collaborative testbed activities enable groups such as UAH, JPL, and the All Hazards Consortium to define products so that they would be more useful to improved preparedness and responsiveness for a variety of disaster events. And geo-collaborate is now becoming a key asset for disaster management decisions making. The cluster is currently organizing a data-driven decision-making workshop to be held at the Edison Electric Institute headquartered in Washington, D.C. this fall. Events like this will allow ESIP to help connect agencies, states, and also industries, giving ESIP high visibility and opportunity, and also positioning ESIP to play a greater role in advancing science that will benefit society needs. TestBed has been a successful story for ESIP under the leadership of the Product and Services Committee. It started out supporting proof of concepts only. It now has continued to expand. Last year, thanks to my little the NASA Advanced Information System and Technologies program started using it as a framework for evaluating their projects. It was so popular that they are now starting the second round. And we will soon also partner with USGS for the testbed activities around provenance. And we also will be supporting our semantic technology activities, SOAR and the community, and also making the governance more solid by formalizing the utility of the testbed. And in addition, the testbed is also being leveraged by other organizations such as the EarthCube. So mark your calendar for the 2017 ESIP Winter Meeting to be held in Bethesda, Maryland, not too far from this year's winter meeting. I am looking forward to seeing all of you there in January. And this shows that we have a variety of social media presence and also online resources available for you. So please take advantage of them. And ESIP has made over 20 contributions to share stories about the importance of earth science on the HU block geospace. And Rebecca, thank you for managing this successfully. And if any of you like to submit a post, please contact her. And so to conclude, I just want to encourage to jump in and get involved. There are many ways to get ESIP and join the fund. Thank you very much. That's right. Is there any questions?
I have a note.
So I'm Kristen White, and I heard kind of a neat rumor, but I think it's true, that that there's a new cluster being born here at the summer meeting. So when we say, like, you know, cluster, start a new one, you know, how do we do that? Well, 2 or 3 of you decide you want to work on something, come up with a name for your cluster, come up with a description for it, make a decision on your initial first step, what you're going to do, like email a list of people that might be interested after this meeting, and then let myself, Emily, Aaron, one of the staff, let us know, and we're off to the races. And I'm not going to call them out, but I would give that cluster, new cluster, an opportunity if they would like. Okay. I'm going to briefly talk a little bit about what your new cluster is. Is that okay?
It actually, Christine, it's tell Christine. So the
Oh, yeah.
way that clusters are formed is you tell the vice president that you're interested in starting a cluster, and then you get a wiki, a listserv, and webinar capability.
That's true. Yeah, you can tell me. It's actually my job, but if you can't find me.
Just send an email to Christine and she will
Send
take
an
care
email
of
to
you.
Christine, and you know, clusters that form, it's free to form a cluster. And they get the backbone of a listserv, wiki, you know, the website space. They meet at these meetings and telecons if you want it.
And Sophie, if you want to just explain, like, in a couple sentences.
Yeah, and also request for a student fellow to support you as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Howe. So yesterday afternoon, myself, Bob Jones, and Maurice, we had a session. It was called Applied Visibility Practices and Principles to Data Archives and Repositories. And basically the session's objective was to look at some of the lessons learned or best practices and recommendations that are available from the usability or the HCI discipline, and looking at some of how we can use these lessons learned and guidance towards improvement of the services or the interface with our users through the interface of data archives and repositories. So we had 3 different use cases, and through the use cases, we demonstrated that the evaluations can have very immediate and meaningful impact on the improvement of the usage of the data archives and repositories. So at the end of the session, I polled the audience and asked if they will be interested in starting a usability cluster. And basically, some of the immediate suggestions that we got were we could collect some of the tools and software that would be helpful for usability assessment, documentation evaluations. We can go through some of the evaluations themselves, and we can also start generating a checklist or our other recommendations that are directly applicable for the data archives repositories implementation and maintenance. So I've talked to Christine, and I will be submitting a statement and contacting the attendees at the session. So if you're interested but you haven't checked the session, please feel welcome to go back and add yourself, or just to talk to me, and I'll be happy to contact all of you who are interested after the listserv is set up. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophie. Any other questions? I actually happen to talk to a number of folks that who are also interested in the idea of creating a new cluster, which is for the emerging technology, virtual reality, and augmented reality, AR and VR. So I'm actually looking for someone who's willing to step up to lead the effort. So if anybody who's interested in doing that, please contact me as well. Okay, that's it. So, thanks. Thank you.
So next up, we have Kathy Fontaine, and one of the things that Carol started and we've been building on is the connection with GEO, the Group on Earth Observations, and GEOS, the Global Earth Observing System of Systems. And so we've asked Kathy to be ESIP's point of contact and representative to the program board, and Kathy's just got a little bit to report on the program board meeting in May, so.
Good morning. It looks like it was a long, hard night. I watched the RNC. I understand that you did too. That was quite interesting. So ESIP has been increasing its international participation over time, which is a good thing, and ESIP's reputation internationally is only getting better and better and better. And it's all because of you guys and what you do. And it was easy to get ESIP nominated to the program board, so that's on you guys. We already have quite a lot of international participation going on, as I said. Raise your hand if you are involved in any way, shape, or form with the Research Data Alliance, for instance. Yeah, look around. All those people have either formal or informal roles on RDA, which is, by the way, having a meeting in September in Denver, and ESIP is an integral part of the International Data Week, so I encourage you all to go there. And as far as GEO goes, raise your hand if you, A, can spell it, B, know what it means, and C, have ever participated in it. Even more people. Excellent. Good. So all those people raise their hands, ask them questions. The program board is a new feature. There was an attempt to change the way GEO managed its activities. And one of the ways that they wanted to change it is to consolidate leadership and oversight of all the tasks. And so they developed the program board. This program board has only been around for less than a year. It started officially at the last plenary meeting in November. It has roughly 30, 38, 39, 40 something members on it. Not all of them were active, as you know. The ratio of active to inactive in a volunteer organization is interesting. And our first job in program board is to set up the processes for all future program boards. And one of the things we're doing right now is developing those processes, developing what oversight means, developing what the role of the program board is when it gets down to resource allocations and identifying workloads and things like that. And the other thing the major thing we're doing right now is evaluating the requests that have come in from the community for flagship and initiative activities. Now, flagship, the difference between the two is that flagships are operational. They have most of their funding from member nations and they're well-established projects. And initiatives are a little less well-developed, a little less operational, but they have a goal. And we have a large collection of flagships and initiatives, mostly initiatives, that want to get involved with GEO. We have a huge collection of community activities, which are just people like you getting together and implementing what is the equivalent of a cluster model, get together and talk about things and see who else is interested and then move forward with that and get the work done. So I don't want to go into a whole bunch of detail here. I want to leave time for any questions and refilling coffee. But more information is at earthobservations.org. But at the last work plan symposium, which happens every year, all the task leaders get together and they talk about what they're doing. A few activities that might be of interest came out of that effort and out of the program board. And so I'm going to talk about a couple of them. And in the interest of ESIP's increased involvement in the international community, you may be hearing more about some of these things. So I'm going to mention here first. There's an effort out of Australia called DataCube. Geosciences Australia has someone in it by the name of Stuart Minchin, and Stuart has been very active in GEO for a very long time, and he's developed a DataCube that is enabling Australian government officials to really track the water issues in Australia. Now, obviously, the concept of the DataCube is not new, but the way it's been implemented in Australia is really pretty fascinating and it's getting a lot of traction. And I think that there's an opportunity here for ESIP to expand on that DataCube, to maybe contribute to it, to perhaps use the DataCube concept in the energy, water, nexus we heard about on the first day, but to use the concept of the DataCube as a way to resolve problems on this end. There is a need for, a desire for, and this has been a long-stated desire, for a point of contact to rally the in situ communities in Earth observations under one banner to work towards a global set of in situ networks, or set of global in situ networks, however you want to arrange those words. But to date, no one has actually stepped up to lead or facilitate that effort. And because ESIP provides in the US much the same service that GEO provides internationally, basically a safe space to network, to share ideas, to get things done, and to represent the broader Earth science community and Earth observations community, it's conceivable, given ESIP's membership as a participating organization in GEO, that ESIP may want to step up and take the lead in facilitating that in situ community drive. And it's been, trust me, it's been talked about for the last 10 years. The example of, for those of you who know the Committee on Earth Observation Satellites, CEOS is a well-organized group of people that really has the Earth observation satellite community well in hand. There's more structure there than any place I've ever seen. The equivalent structure is what is being sought in the in-situ community. So if you have any thoughts on that, please see Aaron and see any of us. There's also a very, I'm gonna say renewed, but continued emphasis on users and usability. When you have Earth observations apps and you have data sets and you have things that you're giving out, a lot of times you are the provider and you're just handing them out. Well, you're expecting that the user can use them, but we all know that that just doesn't automatically happen because we are not necessarily, as providers, ever looking at it from the point of view of a broader user. We have a category in mind, and so we all have our favorite user is fill in the characteristics. So it's always good to get broader use cases for usability efforts so that when Geo or when ESIP creates their apps and releases their products or their services, they're not only useful, but they're usable. Those are two different things.
What did you call that? Excuse me, the user,
Users and usability.
users and users.
Yeah. Each of the flagships and initiatives has to have an identified user community, including an actual point of contact, a person with an email address that's valid and is not connected to the spam bot. And that person needs to be involved in the development of the product so that they understand what it is and that the product is not only useful but usable. There's an effort, Geo is in its next 10 years making a concentrated effort to help advance the Sustainable Development Goals. These are an international set of goals that help to increase the global sustainability in all fields. And they are basically a set of indicators that can be measured through statistical methods. But at the heart of all of that are Earth observations. And so GEO has an initiative to help develop and identify observations in support of sustainable development goals. And I know there's a lot of expertise in this room that can contribute to that. And then finally, there is always, at GEO plenaries, there is always an exhibit. And that gives ESIP the chance to showcase some of its activities. And that increases your visibility internationally. So even if you personally in your organization don't have the opportunity to go to international meetings, you can use ESIP as your surrogate and get your project out there through the exhibit. And let me tell you, the exhibits are extremely popular and there are a lot of good things that happen off the exhibits. So that's just a brief snapshot of what happened, what's going on with GEO so far. The next major meeting for GEO is in November. It's plenary in St. Petersburg, Russia. So if anybody wants to go see St. Petersburg, talk to me. No, in November. There are many other community activities going on, so let me just insert a plug for the Connecting Communities session at 9 o'clock in Junior Ballroom C, where we're also going to be talking about the various communities, the EarthCube communities, the RDA communities, HEU, everything under the sun that has been coming up in Earth observations. So, questions? It's still early, I know.
I can shout.
Yes, we know. Use your outside voice here.
My professor voice.
So Kathy, can you just tell everyone a little bit about the regional GEO efforts that are going on?
Yes.
Because there seems to be a real resurgence of those efforts, and not so much US GEO, but I think there's local chances to get involved too.
Yeah. GEO members are nations. They're the ones with the voting rights. And those nations, to varying degrees, have active GEO offices. There are a couple of efforts that cross regions. There's AfriGeos, for any of you who have connections in the African continent. There's the group is run by, was initiated by the South African delegation, and they are interested in pulling together the intellectual and other resources across the African continent to help use Earth observations to address those problems that are unique to the continent. In the United States, there's an equivalent connection with South America. It's called AmeriGeos. It's equivalent with actually, the members are Canada, North America, and Central America, and South America, so the entire hemisphere there. And again, that group gets together and talks about issues that are unique to the region. Those regional efforts are getting more and more popular because while you can say things are happening globally, you can't really get your brain around global, but you can hope to get your brain around regional. So if you have connections in any of the other countries, if you have co-Is or colleagues in your universities or colleagues in your agencies that have links into Earth observations, or you want to know more information about AmeriGeos or AfriGeos or any of the other issues, you may Google it, you may ask me. If anyone, is anyone involved in this room? Anyone involved in AmeriGeos? Besides Peter? Okay. I think y'all need to be recaffeinated. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. And then the last part of the State of the Federation is how we are connected to other things going on. And the one that we wanted to highlight this meeting, because it's local here, are the South Hubs. And so I'd like to introduce Leah Shanley. Leah is the co-executive director of the South Big Data Hub, and we know Leah from her past position at the Woodrow Wilson Center, and she was a plenary speaker the last time we were in Madison. So we're really happy to have her back and happy to know her in this new position too. So Leah, come on up.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Erin and ESIP, for having me back. I'm so excited to be here, and I've really felt recharged talking with folks again at this meeting. So the South Big Data Hub is based here at UNC Chapel Hill and also co-located in Atlanta with Georgia Tech. So to give you a little perspective, the National Science Foundation has a portfolio of big data efforts. That includes research for big data technologies and techniques, infrastructure in the form of the DIBS programs. They support education, and then they decided to do something new, which was looking at regional partnerships, and that's where the hubs come in. So, oops, okay. Many of you may be aware that in 2012, the White House launched its Big Data Research and Development Initiative. So 6 federal agencies contributed $200 million to this initiative. In 2014, the National Science Foundation launched the call for proposals for big data hubs. They had a series of charrettes around the country to determine who would, in fact, lead those hubs. In 2015, they awarded $6 million to 4 hubs, and also did a call for proposals for about $10 million across the country, across the 4 hubs, for what they called spoke proposals. So the South Big Data Hub is part of a network of 4 regional big data hubs launched by the National Science Foundation But it's also funded in part by our home institutions, by the Computing Community Consortium, and by other partners. So the South Hub is comprised of, so it's the orange there, 16 states and the District of Columbia, going from Texas all the way up to Delaware. The hub regions were, they used the census to determine the hub regions, although, you know, the South Hub, we're pretty big here, so a lot of ground to cover. There's an equal partnership in the South Hub between Georgia Tech and UNC. We each bring some unique things to the table that really complement each other's efforts. The goal of the hub is to accelerate partnerships among people in business, academia, government, nonprofits, who apply data science and analytics to advance science, address societal challenges, and spur economic development in the region. And so I want to emphasize, while we have big data in our name, our real focus is data science and analytics. We have 4 key roles, and I want to emphasize we're in startup mode, so this is somewhat evolving, but our intent is to accelerate public-private partnerships that bridge between industry, academia, nonprofits, and government. So that's a bit of a tall task, right? Because these groups come in with different cultures and different ways of doing things. We'd like to grow communities of practice that connect data scientists with domain scientists, industry, and practitioners. So much like your clusters, but we have a broader area that we're looking at. Enabling or facilitating data sharing and shared cyber infrastructure collaborations, resources, and services. And building data science capacity through education and workforce development. So last December, the South Big Data Hub convened its first all-hands meeting. There were over 250 people in attendance, I think around 40 from the private sector. 70 partnerships formed during that meeting, and they submitted proposals through the SPOKE program under the hubs to NSF. So those proposals are now getting notice of who has been awarded, and we're looking forward to those announcements going through the end of September. Those proposals covered 7 perspective areas, or clusters, if you will. Data sharing and infrastructure, healthcare, so that could be healthcare analytics, health disparities, genetics, metro data science, or what people call smart and connected cities, privacy and security, industrial big data and energy, materials and manufacturing, and natural resources and hazards. And natural resources and hazards is a place where UNC Chapel Hill in the South Big Data Hub is very greatly interested. That's going to be one of our priority areas. So we're in startup mode. It took a bit for the Hub ED executive directors to get hired on, but there are now 5 of us. So there's Melissa Cragen in the Midwest at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, where the Supercomputing Institute is. The West Hub is run by Meredith Lee, who is at UC Berkeley, and her PIs are Mike Norman, Ed Lazowski, and Bill Howe at University of Washington. They're very interested in things like metro science and data narratives or data visualization, for example. The Midwest Hub, I forgot to mention, is very interested, of course, in things like precision agriculture and the energy, food, water, and access. And then Renee Beston, who comes from the entrepreneurial community, is the executive director for the Northeast Hub, and his PI is Kathleen Cowan, so they're based at Columbia University, and he is just amazing, a really nice complement, I think, to the other 4 EDs who come more from government and academia. And then myself, Leah Shanley, and at UNC Chapel Hill, and Renata Rawlings-Goss. She comes from NSF, but is now at Georgia Tech as my partner in crime. So we're doing things like setting up websites and blogs and beginning to host some community calls to see where there's the greatest interest, establishing some working groups around cyber infrastructure and education, and beginning to have some weekly calls across the hub. So people often ask us how much there will be some regional differences in how things are set up, but we are trying our best to keep in touch with the different hubs and create some consistency nationally. Cyber infrastructure will be a big priority for all the hubs, but I think especially here in the South Hub, UNC Renzi comes with a lot of expertise particularly in the software development for distributed data sharing. So we're going to be doing some asset mapping of existing collaborations, services, resources, and data that could potentially serve the hub, and work on building partnerships with cloud service providers and NSF-funded cyber infrastructure programs to facilitate distributed data sharing, computing, and analytics across institutions and partners, while of course protecting privacy and ensuring security. So I'm very lucky to have as a senior advisor Regan Moore, who founded HiRods and runs the DataNet Federation, or is a principal investigator on the DFC. Of note, it was just announced that the hubs were able to negotiate $3 million in cloud compute services from Microsoft over the next 3 years, which will be provided free to members of our community through an external peer review process. But it will, probably be a short proposal. It won't be a heavy lift. We're also talking with Microsoft about providing some technical support and training as part of that process. And other cloud service providers are now contacting us as well. On education, the Computing Community Consortium very generously gave all the hubs grants to support early career folks in data science activities. So Georgia Tech set up the PEPI program that links early career faculty and postdocs to industry partners. And UNC Chapel Hill established the Data Start program to provide grad students the opportunity to work with data science focused startups. We also provided some funding to local government officials to go to analytics for health policy workshop, to be getting to expose folks at the local level to big data and data science. We do a lot of, or will be doing a lot of convening and connecting, serving as a matchmaker to build partnerships. So I don't know that anyone, you could read all of that, but to show that there's a lot of activity starting. Upcoming next week, we'll be doing a congressional briefing, so again, to try to educate Congress on what is data science, what is it, why is it important, what are some of the important application areas, like earth science. We'll be hosting a mobile health analytics workshop focused on health disparities, things like asthma and cardiac disease and the linkages between air and health. There's going to be 3 workshops hosted at Georgia Tech on big data analytics for advanced materials and manufacturing, for energy and smart grid, as well as for health analytics and precision medicine. And that's more of a all hands, people coming and beginning to build some partnerships out of that. And as I'm here, we're also going to be doing a lot of outreach to begin to raise the visibility and identify people and groups that we could be partnering with to add value. So that's just quick, the team that's running the South Hub. And I'm also happy to connect you to any of the executive directors at the other hubs, because I think they'd be very excited to connect with ESIF, because you guys have been leading the way and we could learn a lot from you. So thank you. Are there any questions?
We're really wanting more coffee.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I think that concludes the State of the Federation. I think Leah and Emily and I are happy to stick around if you have other questions and you want to come up and ask us. A reminder, at lunch, there'll be signs on the table. I'm thinking maybe it would be a good idea to have a geo sign, and maybe, Leah, if you're here for lunch, a big data hubs sign on the table too, so if people are curious about those activities, we can have further conversations about those. And then just one last, actually 2 other things. Wade Bishop, Wade, will you raise your hand? Wade is from University of Tennessee and is building curriculum for data scientists. And to do that, he, actually Wade, maybe I'll just, you want to come here and give a little quick plug? Because I think he does a better job explaining what he does than I do.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'd like to thank the people that already participated. Had a great turnout yesterday and talked to quite a few folks across the Federation. Basically, I'm developing curriculum and starting with job incumbents, because the knowledge, skills, and abilities that you all have and how you learn them is what I'd like to include in the curriculum I'm developing. So my approach is just to interview a variety of people here. You can see me during the breaks. Interviews can take about 20 minutes. I really appreciate anybody who can participate. I need about 4 more today, hopefully. So thank you very much.
And then the last thing is to remind you that at Full Steam tonight, we're going to raffle off the drone for your feedback in the meeting. So if you're interested in a little drone, come to Full Steam tonight. I think that's it. Emily, do you have anything else? Thanks very much and have a good morning.